What is going on? Welcome to another episode of the Carlos Whittaker podcast, where we are going back through the annals of the Carlos Whittaker / Human Hope / all the podcasts I've ever done, history, and we are landing on some stories that will pique our curiosity from the past. Today, I'm so excited to introduce you to, I don't know, like 3 years ago version of my daughter, 2 years ago version of my daughter, and allow us to get curious about people that are living with some sort of chronic condition, that are not giving up, still looking for hope, hope reliant on, yes, what possible doctors can give us, but really reliant on their faith. What happens when you pray for something for decades and you don't see a result? My daughter's one of the strongest people that I know. And so today we just rewind to a conversation I had with her. I think that a lot of you are going to be able to really identify either with knowing somebody that is going through some sort of chronic, physical illness or pain or sickness, or it's you. And I think that my daughter does a wonderful job at unpacking. And again, this is just, she's 22 now. I can't remember exactly how old she was in this. Maybe 20, maybe 19, but she's wise beyond her years. I'm so grateful to be her dad. And so, Carlos Whittaker podcast listeners, please sit back and enjoy this conversation with my daughter, Sohaila Pendergrass, now Whittaker back then. All right, so I got you here.
It's me.
Sohaila is down in the Human Hope Podcast studios.
Yes, I am. It's my basement.
It's in your basement.
Mm-hmm.
And you just got back from a date.
I did.
With
my boyfriend.
Your boyfriend. What did you guys
Shout
do?
out, Brady. We went to Jenny's. If any of these Nashvilleian people know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Jenny's ice cream.
Jenny's ice cream's the best. We went to Jenny's. And then we went and sat on top of the parking garage, ate it, and talked.
Oh, that's sweet.
It was classic.
Did you kiss?
Dad. Look, we're not even like a minute in.
Okay. So here's the deal. A lot of these, actually, most of these people weren't, because I think I only had like 30,000 Instagram followers.
You didn't have many.
When you went into the hospital in
2019.
2019, was it? It was
November.
It was actually no, because
it was October. It was like literally the day of
and you
Halloween.
and overarching, you spent 21 days in there.
Correct.
Let's go to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to New York.
New York. I love that city.
You do, but you weren't.
I didn't get to experience it the way I usually do.
Tell us a little bit about what got you into the hospital. I want to hear your version of this, because me and Mom talk about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But like, talk to me a little bit. This may be triggering for me, but I'll take some deep breaths to get through it. So talk to me about what you were feeling and kind of your point of view on getting to the hospital.
Yeah. So pretty much, we went to New York. We were planning this trip to New York for a while. And the week leading up, actually, I guess 2 weeks leading up to the trip, my chest randomly just started to hurt. And I started working out a lot. Not too much, but way more than I ever had before. And it was great. And I was feeling strong. And so I thought maybe I pulled something, if I was doing a plank or whatever. And so I told Mom a couple times, I was like, my chest really hurts. I don't know what it is, but it would come up, but then it would fade away. And it wasn't anything major. And so when we went to New York, I don't even remember if it was the first day. That trip, to just be blatantly honest, I don't remember very much of because I wasn't very, aware because of the pain I was in. I am I love travel, like my family, obviously. And so when I couldn't experience one of my favorite cities, I knew something was off.
Yeah.
My chest was not not great. Like I felt like there was like bricks like laid on top of my, just my chest. And whenever I would breathe, it felt like they were like getting like pushed into me almost.
And we were like staying in a hotel. It was all of us in a room, and you were in so much pain.
I think it was literally the first day.
Mom was laying in the bed with you to help you go to sleep. Because
I took like ibuprofen and that did nothing. And like I was worn out, even though like we literally landed, went straight to the hotel room.
Yeah.
And I was just sleeping.
Yeah.
And so I end up like, and it's to the point where I can't lay down. That's another thing.
Right.
Like I'm like sitting up, and like as soon as I lay down, it's almost like gravity like pushed. It literally felt like, imagine like having like a stack of bricks.
Yeah.
And then laying down with the bricks, and it's like pushing into my, like I could not breathe. That's the other thing. Like, well, that's the main thing. I could not breathe. Like and it wasn't like, it was funny because I didn't feel like my lungs. It felt like my chest at first.
Because we were thinking it was your heart.
Exactly. We did go through that.
We were calling doctors.
I remember that.
And I just remember this was like we were only there like 2 days, I think. And it's like the second day we were like, should we go to a hospital here? And two of the doctors that we knew were like, don't go to a hospital there.
Yeah. Just
I
wait.
think you can get home.
Yeah.
And hindsight being 2020, had we been admitted to a hospital there,
exactly,
we would have been in New York for 21 days, like getting mediocre care. So,
I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So we, I'm actually like, I was not okay. Like I hate to see you in pain, obviously. And little did I know that this was just the beginning of seeing you in pain. But we get you on a plane, we fly home, and we're still thinking like, this maybe it's pneumonia, maybe it's.
And I even remember like the last night of New York being so terrible.
Yeah.
Like so terrible. Like I remember like being like, Jesus, like help me, please. Because I did not want to go to the hospital in New York.
Yeah.
I would rather be home with my dog and in my own bed. And so we flew. We
fly home, but I left you guys because I had to fly to Charlotte.
I did.
And I just remember going to my hotel, being so worried about you. And Mom's like, she's gonna be okay. And then you went.
She kept telling me.
Yeah.
She was like, you're fine.
And you went to see your pediatrician here. Your doctor.
I did first.
They did X-ray.
They did X-ray. I went to an X-ray. And then they called Mom and was like, we see like lymph nodes, I think.
Yep.
I think they called them. See,
swollen lymph nodes.
I have very, very bad eczema. And so like I itch and I, scratch myself. So it's an open wound. So lymph nodes are very common for me. Like I just get them in my head a lot or like around my neck and stuff. And so them saying that wasn't like alarming.
Right.
And so, but what was alarming, I did not hear this, but Mom said that they called her and they're like, hey, we see lymph nodes. We'll call you back. Like, I think, like, let us know in like a couple days if she's feeling worse or the same, because they were still concerned instead of just being like, lymph nodes,
Yeah.
Like there's something different about these. And so
you have one more night at home. I get home. And we're like, let's go to church. Like, and you were hurting.
I was very much hurting. We went to urgent care.
Oh, you went to urgent care first?
We went to urgent care first, and they turned us around.
Yeah.
They said like, nothing was wrong with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I felt so discouraged. Yeah. Like I was sobbing with Mom. And Shelly Griffin came over and like was like, no, like it's okay. It's okay. And it's so funny because I look back and I'm like, there were so many people around me. Yeah. Even before I even went into the hospital, like people were just checking up on me, and I'm eternally grateful for that. Yeah. And like we went to church because Mom's like, hey, I'm going to church. And I'm like, I need to go.
It was Tuesday night because I'd gotten home, and I mean, I'll be honest with you, like right now I'm like having the hardest time even remembering all of this. Not hardest time as far as like remembering it, but whoa, I'm like feeling some feelings right now.
Yeah.
We go to church. I'm just like, dear Jesus, make this pain stop.
Were you at church?
Yes, you passed by me.
No, I know, but did I walk by you when I was leaving?
You walked by me because you were crying. You were in so much pain. And Mom was
at the front, because me and Mom went to the front and you came in. Yeah. And I turned around after worship because it was so bad and you saw me.
I saw you, the pain in your eyes, and Mom followed you and you're in the back. And what happened back there? I think you went to the bathroom. I did. Did she ask you, do you want to go to the hospital?
I went to the bathroom and I was freaking out because I was alone and I was like, why can't I breathe? Like I felt like I was suffocating. Yeah. Like I could not breathe and I didn't know what to do. Like I didn't know if it was like the stress, like the beat of the drums, like in church, like was like killing my chest.
Yeah.
Like everything was so just amplified.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like everything was just like, I don't know. It felt, it was just scary. Like I didn't experience that. And so like I was in the bathroom and then Mom kind of like pulls me out and then she's like, are you okay? And I said, I can't breathe. And she's like, do we need to go to the hospital? And I was like, yes, like we need to. And you guys have asked, like you asked me that before and I was like, nope. Yeah. And I'm pretty tough. Like I can handle a lot of things.
Yeah. A lot of pain.
And yet like this is the first time I was like it's probably not a good idea for me to.
And then Mom comes up to me and she says, we need to go to the hospital. And oh, Jesus, like Dad's worst nightmare. And by the time we get in the car, you were in so much pain. It's almost like I realized it because I felt like I was almost like, now that I look back, I almost was like, I can do it. Like, this is not going to last long. Yeah. But then once I realized like, it's not going away.
It hurt. Like I don't know. It did. It got more intense.
I got a question. Did you know the liver is the second largest organ in your body? It's responsible for over 500 functions in your body, but for some reason, liver health, it just kind of never gets the attention that it deserves. Over 30% of Americans have a sluggish liver. Ain't nobody want a sluggish liver, and it's a problem that often goes undetected until the very last minute. I need to tell you, Dose is on a mission to educate us all on why it's so important to maintain your liver health and make sure that they give you this incredible product that can help you do just that. If you're looking for a natural way to promote and maintain your liver health, I found it. It is a clinically supported, potent, and effective solution, and I can't wait to share it with you. Dose for Your Liver was formulated to cleanse your liver of unwanted elements, aid in your digestion, and maintain your body's filter. Why does this matter? Because your liver is the second largest organ in your body and responsible for over 500 functions in your body. Dose's science-backed formula promotes liver function, aids in digestion, and eases bloating and even boosts energy level. Trust me, this 51-year-old body has needed Dose to help my bloating. Dose for Your Liver shot is equivalent to 17 shots of turmeric juice. Dose is gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, and vegan. Let me tell you this. Save 30% off your first month of subscription by going to dosedaily.co/Carlos or entering Carlos at checkout. That's dosedaily.co/Carlos for 30% off your first month subscription. So we sprint to Vanderbilt and we initially go to the adult ER. And then immediately they're doing all the tests on you, checking your heart. And then
I was being so tough. I was like, I remember Mom got so mad at me because I wasn't really telling the truth.
Right. Because they're like, what's your pain? You're like, I'm
like a 5.
Yeah. And we were like, no, like this is because we know you. And that was the point actually where I just took a picture of the floor of the hospital.
And you put it
I put it on my Instagram. I said, and all it said was, please pray. Sohaila's in massive pain. We're at the hospital. Please pray. and my phone just started blowing up and people started sharing it. And you went in and they couldn't control your pain for a couple hours, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because we got transferred to children's.
Yeah, we got transferred into the children's and they're just working. They're trying to figure out what's wrong, what's wrong. They finally give you tons of pain meds and it helps.
It lowers it. Yeah,
it lowers the pain.
Sure, it did.
They take you to do was it MRI or CAT scan?
CAT scan. Everything was CAT scan. I don't think I did MRI.
Okay. And so they CAT scan you and they come back and you're in the room and you're texting some of your friends.
What time is this though?
This is probably...
Because we got done
midnight.
At like 8.
Yeah.
Because we left because church started at 7:30.
Yeah.
And it was just worship. I think I even left in the middle of worship.
You left in the middle of worship. And so this is probably though around 11:30. And they came back in, I don't know, 20 minutes later and they said, it looks like she's got pneumonia.
Yes.
And
we're like, yes.
Yes. And we're like, we're probably going to have to admit her for a few days and then she's going to be fine.
But I also heard pneumonia and I was like, oh yeah, I can handle pneumonia.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of people that have handled pneumonia.
And then, now I want you to give your perspective of what happened next because I've got my version. But when the doctors came back after, they came back in and they said, actually, we looked at it again.
Yes. It was you. Who was in the room? You, Mom. I remember actually where you and Mom were. There was someone else.
Ketrick.
Was it Ketrick? Yeah, I think it was Ketrick. It was, Mom was like in the corner. I was in the bed. You were with Ketrick. And the doctor that had been like looking after me all night kind of comes in and she like looks at me and looks at Mom and you. And like you could tell something just by her face. And it was like, okay, like, what is it? Like, but I just wasn't expecting what she was going to say because she got on her knees, like she squatted and like held onto my bed and like looked at me. And she's like, in the kindest way you could say it, she's like, we think we see lymphoma. And in that moment, I was like, I was like,
oh, you started wondering what lymphoma was.
Yeah, and like I've heard the name and I heard the diagnosis before, but once I saw Mom's face, I was like, cancer. That's what it was. Yeah. And so like I instantly knew. But then, so you guys, I actually don't remember your faces. I remember Mom sobbing. Yeah. Like instantly. Yeah. And then the doctor's talking. I'm not listening to her. I'm kind of in my own like shocking. Yep. Like I'm just shocked. Like I don't know what to make of it. Like I remember like laying there and being like, oh, like cancer? Me?
Yeah.
You know? Like that never in a million years crossed my mind. And like, it was just shocking. Yeah. And I remember being like, I'm okay. Like I'll be fine. It's so sweet of Jesus. Like I had no fear.
You didn't actually.
I didn't have any fear. And I saw fear in your face.
Oh.
Quite literally a lot of it. And Mom's face. But I was like, I don't know. I just felt very confident in my story. Like I knew like this isn't it.
This isn't it. And when she told me that, I was completely overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking at you while she was looking at me saying lymphoma. And I said, baby, do you understand what lymphoma means? And you go, yeah.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember being like, and I remember crying because I remember it obviously like shock. You feel a lot, but then also nothing at the same time. So like I'm crying, yet I'm like almost fearless, but I'm also...
You're emotional about it.
I'm emotional. I'm like, cancer. Like you don't hear that word thrown around.
And so I actually, you didn't see this because I walked out when she left and I went straight into the bathroom and I like dry heaved. Like I just started dry heaving, like no throat was coming out, but I was feeling it. And I just looked in the mirror and kind of like shook my face and I was like, okay. And it kind of just took about 2 seconds for me and God to like shore up what needed to be inside of me in that moment. And I just remember walking in going like, okay, what are we doing? What's the next step? Where are we going? And they're like, we're going to move you to the oncology floor. Yeah. And we're going to start, we're going to do a biopsy, and we're going to start, I think they said we're going to start treatments like tomorrow. Like
they did. They said it's so, what did they say? They said like this is so, like it's growing very fast, so we have to get on it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I just, I remember thinking, but I've grown my hair out so long.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know, it's like those little things that got me, which is so random. Instead of like, thinking cancer, I thought like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and you were also in massive pain still. Like the pain was just.
Let's not forget about that.
It was so much. And
it was
the drugs that they were putting you on, like.
They couldn't go.
They couldn't go any higher with it. And we move and we had the longest night ever. And, again, I don't want to spend the entire podcast going about day by day of your hospital visit, but
I don't remember.
Well, no, you definitely don't remember most of the hospital. It was, and you can actually, you guys, if you want to go on my Instagram, I still have Sohaila Hospital 1 through 6. You can actually watch the whole thing there.
The whole thing.
Which is crazy. I did it the other week. And, but here, real quick, we get in there.
Yep.
You're out. You're on drugs. Me and Mom are sleeping in this tiny little room, looking at each other like, okay, what's our life this next season? And we just started praying. And we just started praying. We go to a church where we specifically pray against disease. And, that's how we do it. Other people that listen to this podcast may not do it that way, may not have the same belief system, but that's what got us through this.
Yeah.
And the next morning, we're praying, and they're supposed to take you to for biopsy. Again, you're out at this point. Sohaila's just on drugs. She is in massive pain.
Not aware.
She doesn't remember anything. But you were in so much pain. You'd wake up screaming. And as dad, like you're 17, but it was like, ooh, I'm not going to cry right now. But it was like the worst. And then we had our friends Jamie and Rob and Charlie and Eve, maybe just Eve there. And they didn't take you for the biopsy all day long. And then they finally came back. Like 5 p.m. the next day, the whole oncology floor, all the doctors. And I'll never forget the moment. They looked at us and they said, okay, sorry, we've been studying the scans. We redid another scan, and we now no longer think it's lymphoma.
Yeah.
We think this is an infection. And still not knowing the next 21 days of my life, that was the greatest news I've ever heard in my life. Now, do you even remember that?
I do. And I remember being like, all right, it's not cancer. Yeah. Like I was not.
You actually, I feel like you actually were saying that it's not cancer to us.
I didn't. I actually believed, like, I was like, I don't think, like, it didn't feel right, you know? And I don't know what it's like to have cancer. So I don't know if you know or if you don't, but I didn't feel like I did. At least like, I didn't. And so when they said it, I was like, yeah, no, that seems more right, you know?
Yeah.
And so they said that. You were relieved.
I crumbled on the ground and started
literally
weeping.
I remember like looking down. I also was like so not there.
Yeah.
That I just remember like, looking down at you and be like, oh no, he's happy. Yeah. Like that's just the only thing I could get, like only emotion I could have out of that is like, oh yeah, he's happy.
Yeah. It changed everything. And then they started you on antibiotics and none of them worked. And they couldn't figure out. And then they brought 7 days later, you're in the hospital, they brought cancer back on the table. They're like, none of the antibiotics are working. Maybe it's cancer again. So then we're praying again. And then, we had some low points. Okay. So that's 20 minutes of kind of getting us there. I want to know what did those 21 days in the hospital do for you?
I mean, it grew me.
How?
I mean, spiritually, number one. In regards to, I had to put my full trust and my full, like, all of my dependence on my life on Jesus. Like, I remember, like, there were 2 times where I thought this could be it.
Okay, tell us about those, or one.
one of them was at this point, I don't even remember the time, but I just remember I would have these dreadful coughing fits.
Yeah.
Like I could not breathe at all. Like I could not, I don't even.
I remember.
I'm pretty sure I blocked them all out of my mind except this one. Like I was sitting there and I actually think I had the tube in me. That's why it hurt so bad. I had in this lung, I had like just fluid.
Yeah.
Filled the whole thing.
The whole thing was filled.
whole thing. And like only 40% of this lung was working.
Yeah.
And so like what is this, right lung?
Yeah.
Had a tube in it that drained. They had like some surgery. I don't know what it's called, but they stuck a tube in me and it had like this container at the end of it.
This was like day 11.
That was filled with the fluid from my lung.
Yeah. Tasty.
And it hurt, to say the least. Like the coughing fits with that combined were unreal. Like it just felt like someone was constantly stabbing me. Yeah. And this coughing fit went on for like 6+ hours and I couldn't breathe for 6 hours. And there was one time where I was like, I don't know if I can take another breath. Yeah. Like I was worn out because I had coughed like before the 6 hours, 2 hours before that for like 4 hours. And it was just constant on a loop and a loop. And I could not, my lungs couldn't take a break. And I just remember like having to close my eyes, but I was scared to close my eyes.
Why?
Because I didn't want to die. Yeah. Honestly, I didn't. And I'm going to get emotional.
It's okay, baby. What?
It was scary.
Yeah.
And I think like, I just had to close my eyes and like think, Jesus, no, just Jesus. And I remember like Alex, the first or second day she came.
Our pastor.
Yeah. She told me like, when you're in need, look in his eyes. Like just look in his eyes. Yeah. And so I closed my eyes and I looked into his and like, I felt peace and I felt calm and he was like, this ain't it. Like,
this isn't it.
Just breathe, just do. And I just like had a moment with him, like where he was like, like guiding me through every breath.
Wow.
And it was like, that's all I have to do is just breathe. I've been doing that all my life.
Yeah.
So he's like, that's the one thing you honestly like need for survival in every second is just breath.
Yeah.
And so just breathe. And so I breathed and I breathed again and I just took every breath with intentionality of living. And that, it's funny because like I realized like we take such things for granted.
Yeah.
Like some people right now cannot breathe. Like they can't. And yet we're breathing right now. Like we're just doing it without thinking of it. And I had to put my full dependence on
every breath.
And it was, I don't know, it was building in strength too.
Okay.
Because like I was able to be like, I'm capable. Like I'm capable of breathing, even though like that's such a small,
I can do another
inconvenient thing. Like it's just, I felt like that was like running a marathon. It's just one breath.
Yeah.
And it was, yeah. All of the things. But I think my faith was tested and it grew.
Yeah.
Very much throughout that entire time. My confidence level honestly grew too.
So it's a new year, right? It's 2025 and you're thinking to yourself, how in the world am I going to make this year different? How am I going to build something for myself? Listen, I know that you're dying to be your own boss, and maybe take that business idea you've been kicking around and turn it into a reality. And maybe you don't know how to make it happen. Can I tell you how? Shopify. Shopify is how you're going to make that happen. And this is how. I want to let you know that Shopify makes it simple to create your brand, open for business, and get your first sale. You can get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates, no coding or design skills required. All you need to do is drag and drop. And also their powerful social media tools let you connect all your channels and create shoppable posts and help you sell everywhere people scroll. Literally, Shopify is your all-in-one solution. So, what happens if you don't act now? Will you regret it? What if someone beats you to your idea? Don't kick yourself when you hear this again in a year because you didn't do anything now. Established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/humanhope/Carlos, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/humanhope/Carlos to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/humanhope/Carlos.
Okay, so tell me about that. What did the pain? How did the pain deliver confidence to you?
I think I already knew I had a high pain tolerance, but like once it was really tested, I was able to be like, oh, I can handle anything, because every single night, and people who don't like needles, like block this out of your mind, but every single night they would give me a shot at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And I would be waken up by these bright lights every single night at 4 a.m. I guess morning for them. Yeah. And they would give me a shot. One in like the what is this called?
IV.
Yeah. One in the IV and one in my shoulder every night. And they were big needles. Yeah. And they hurt. They were not fun, but it happened every night. And I just had to be like, that's okay. Like, I can do it. Also, I had to take the most disgusting pill I've ever had to take in my life. Yeah. Like those 21 days. It was the nastiest thing.
We also, ended up finding out she had histoplasmosis.
Oh yeah, that's the
which basically the what they saw was a tumor wasn't a tumor. What was it?
Mass.
It was a mass. It was a fungus.
It was such a gross word.
You had a fungus and that they had to kill. It was an antifungal medicine. And yeah, babe, like I don't know how you did it. Like I don't
either.
It was supernatural.
It was. That's exactly what it was. Supernatural.
It was supernatural. What were some of I'm talking about giving and how giving leads to overcoming. A lot of the stories that people have called in, about the most impactful gifts that they've ever been given have led to overcoming. You overcame a lot in those 21 days. What were some of the gifts that you were given that helped you overcome while you were in there?
I mean, we were talking about this before, but like community, gosh, that gift is so needed in a time of isolation. Cause like, obviously it wasn't COVID time yet.
Right. We were just months before COVID.
Months. Like this was November and COVID came around,
February,
March. And I remember like, obviously I'm the one who's sick. Yeah. So I felt isolated in a sense, like I don't know. I carried a lot of weight on my shoulders. Like I had to do this. But as soon as more people like came to visit or even texted me, and it's so funny because I was getting so many text messages and I read every single one of them, but I literally could not type back.
Right.
Like I literally would look at them and like be filled with like hope.
Yeah.
Just from people being like, hey, you'll probably not see this, but I'm literally praying for you every single day.
And okay, so tell me, like, because as somebody that hasn't been through something like that, like I've been on, obviously I was with you, but it wasn't me. Do those text messages that people send actually mean something?
Yes.
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
was going to make a joke. I was going to be like, not like the use essential oils and...
Oh, those text messages.
Those
Hey,
are not...
I know you have histoplasmosis and your lung is about to explode, but just rub a little of this
Breathe.
frankincense
Yeah,
on your nose and you'll be healed.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That was not very encouraging,
Yeah.
but everything else was.
Everything else
you
was.
know?
So community.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 1,000%.
That was big. What about some of the gifts that you were getting from the team there? Like
Oh my gosh.
talk to us about that.
I honestly cannot even fathom how much I love the nurses I was given.
Yeah.
Like, there were a few that I didn't connect with, but there were like 3 that were like my rock, honestly. There was a night nurse named Sarah who was with us for the first week. And that was the hardest pain. And she, helped me through that just with mom and talking to mom because you weren't there.
Right. I was only there in the evenings, the first two or 3 nights.
Yeah. And so.
And then we have other kids, so I had to
go home.
Yeah.
And Sarah was like mom's emotional support. She would come and check on me every 3 hours. And that's the other thing. I did not sleep at all. Because they had to check on me or or I was in so much pain I could not sleep, you know? But Sarah was a rock I saw for mom and myself. And then there's this one nurse. What's her name? Do you remember?
I remember her.
She was
older?
She was older.
Yeah.
She was the kindest African American woman I think I've ever met.
Yeah.
And she fought for me. Her and this nurse named Delaney, something with a D. I hate that I don't remember their names because I so do.
Yeah.
They're in my journal. I can promise you that.
But there was a night where you needed more pain medicine.
Because I was in terrible pain.
And the doctors weren't giving it to you.
And so they went after those doctors and they said, hey, she needs these. And then after hours of, hey, help this girl, help this kid. They finally were like, okay. And so then I went to sleep.
Yeah.
I was fine after they fought for me.
Yeah.
And there's something about seeing their strength.
The nurses'
strength that impacted my strength.
So they were giving you their strength.
Don't even get me started on Alex.
Okay, let's go. Start on Alex.
I love Alex.
Who's Alex?
My main nurse, my day nurse. She was literally my rock. I'm gonna cry again.
It's okay.
She was like,
why? Why was she your rock?
She was like my friend.
Yeah.
You know? She would help me breathe and she would help. She was hilarious. So she would make me laugh and
you're like, that hurts.
I know. I would say that a lot to her. But she walked with me and she taught me things. And she also just made me feel like I wasn't sick.
Yeah.
And I think that was really important because I felt helpless in a sense. I felt like I couldn't help but be the sick one, the one that's obviously in a hospital room, can't breathe with a tube out of her. That almost became my identity, but I felt like she helped me not identify as the sick kid.
Yeah.
I felt like she was like, oh, you're just here temporarily. You're going to get through this and you're going to be fine. And she was talking about running. She was talking about running, I think it was a half marathon.
Really?
While we were in the hospital. And I was she would tell me stories of her, getting shoes or doing stuff. And I was so interested. And it's so funny now because now we're training for a marathon.
I mean, okay, let's save that in a second.
Okay. I'll save it.
Yeah.
That's just a little bit of a
little teaser.
Sprinkle right there. But she was my friend.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for her.
Well, what I love about that, Sohaila, is that, these nurses and your community were giving you, they weren't giving you money, right?
Nope.
Like so many people think that like the only way to like affect someone is to give them money.
No.
But you weren't given money. You were given strength.
Strength.
You were given words.
And love.
You were given love.
It was what carried me on.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't have that, it would have wrecked me.
Yeah. And this is what we think too. This is what is freaky. This was only, if you would have gotten this 3 months later, you would have been alone.
Alone.
Yeah.
Not even with mom, right?
No, you would have been. I think they would have let mom in as COVID, but
like now I wouldn't have.
Yeah, no.
Because I'm 19.
You're 19 now. But you know, it was, again, you guys can go watch the highlights. All the emotions are there.
Yes,
it obviously it affected our entire family.
Yes.
But you came home, started a very slow recovery, which led into COVID quarantine. And, a year ago today, okay, so we're in July, I don't feel like you could walk.
Oh, no. Because in July, we went to Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that. We went hiking for the fly fishing thing. Remember we did that? And I was like, I had to walk through water.
Yeah.
And my legs and chest, like everything was like, I was worn out that day. And it hurt. Like I definitely could not walk. Like when I got home, I couldn't walk to the bathroom.
Right. Oh yeah. No, you couldn't even do that.
No.
And then, as we began, we were like, okay, you're going to walk to the mailbox today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you walked to the mailbox and we walked to Sydney's 3 houses down.
Yeah.
And then I'll never forget the first time we went around the block. I mean, it took so long.
It literally took and
you were crying.
45 minutes.
Yeah. And it hurt you so bad and it hurt us so bad. But, now, go ahead and why don't you tell everybody?
Why didn't I?
July 28th. Why don't you pull up your little app? Yeah. Why don't you let everybody know what you did?
So this morning, right? It is the heat of Nashville right now.
So
it is dreadful outside. And yesterday I decided to go on a run at like 10 and the sun wore me out. So Dad said that he would buy us an Apple Watch if we ran a marathon.
Yeah.
So we're running a marathon.
And so how many miles did you run yesterday? Or was it today?
Well, yesterday I ran like 4.
Yeah.
Just
no
4.
big deal.
No more.
Just 4 miles.
4 miles.
And when did you run 7?
Today. 7.3.
Is that the most you've run?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
I woke up at 6 a.m. Got my tennis shoes on.
Yeah.
Went outside and just started running.
Yeah.
And it was cool. There were no bugs hitting me.
Yeah.
And I was just vibing. Honestly, I was just running. And then it got to like 5 miles.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did it get to 5 miles? And then I was like, what if I do a 10K?
Yeah.
So I got to 10K and I was like halfway home. And I was like, what if I just run home? And by the time I ran home, it was like 7.3 miles.
That's
I was like,
amazing.
How did that happen?
Babe, I'm so proud of you.
Thanks.
You are the epitome and the picture of strength. But I love that that strength was given to you by not only people, but who?
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So big.
You are. Oh, I just love you. I'm so proud of you. Anything else you want to say to these people?
You're capable of anything.
Yeah.
You don't want to see coming or do see coming.
Yeah.
And I don't know, at points I didn't think I was capable, but I showed myself I was.
Yeah.
So show yourself you are.
Boom. Drop the mic.
That's it. Yay.
What did I say? She's incredible. Sohaila, thanks for sharing your story. There's so many more parts of her story that I feel like are incredible. And she will share when she feels like the time is right for her to share. So that's it. We've got one more week of curiously looking back into the past. But I promise you that next week's episode is going to be quite possibly one of the most listened to episodes ever in the history of my podcasts, all of the podcasts that I've done, because we are going back to a unreleased episode that I've never released. And I feel like now's the time to release it, where I interviewed Heather's grandma, Nani, in her living room of her home that just burned down in the Altadena wildfires. And you're going to learn a lot about her. And I really feel like she's got a story worth sharing. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next week.